Hello guys, how are we all doing? Welcome back to EFL Championship predictions. We've got some big championship games coming this weekend, and as always I am joined by Sophie. How are you?
Yes, I am well, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad, thank you. We didn't have a complete set of championship games over the weekend because it was the FA Cup weekend, but we are back with 12 massive championship games. Before we get into the championship predictions, Sophie, set us a like target for today's video.
1,200.
1,200. I think we could do that with your brilliant support. Please do make sure you hit the thumbs up button. It is free to like, and thank you to everyone who is already subscribed. But if you're not subscribed, go on, hit the subscribe button and help us push towards 60,000 subscribers next. Sophie, these are the scores on the doors with our championship predictions. You've now just gone ahead of me. Yeah. We will add up the Sheffield Wednesday versus Watford game as well, which has been played the day we're recording this and releasing this, so there'll be a little bit to catch up on, but I need to get my championship predictions right this week. Let's kickstart the prediction, Sophie, at Ashton Gate, where Bristol City take on Leeds United. Now, myself and Sophie did see Bristol City firsthand in midweek when they came to Coventry. It finished 2-2. What did you think? They look okay?
Yeah, they did look okay, to be honest. They seemed happy with the point, but they didn't set up for the draw. They did seem to go for it at the end, so I respect a team that does that away from home.
Exactly. They have looked like a team that will probably finish around mid-table this season, but if they can turn those games into 3 points, which they nearly did, then who knows? They're only a few points off the playoffs. Leeds United, on the other hand, are in the playoffs, and obviously they're looking towards the top two. They've got to keep the wins being churned on. Last time in the Championship, they did beat Norwich 1-0. They need to win this, and they've got some long away days coming up. I think they've got to go away to Swansea. They've got the replay against Plymouth coming up as well. So there's some long journeys here, and Leeds United are going to have a bit taken out of them. They need to win this, and they will be better rested than Bristol City, who played in midweek. I think it'll be close, you know. I don't think it'll be totally one-sided, but I do think Leeds might just have the quality to get 3 points, and they need to keep on Ipswich and Southampton's tails. Bristol City 1, Leeds 2.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go for the same scoreline. I feel like Leeds have more quality in their side. Obviously, they need the 3 points more, in my opinion, for what they're pushing for. But Bristol City can be a difficult side to break down, so I don't think it's going to be that easy for Leeds. But I do see them doing it, so I agree with you. 2-1.
Both going 2-1 Leeds. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, share your thoughts on that one. Next up, Sophie, we're going to go to Ewood Park, where Blackburn Rovers take on QPR. This is a big game, Sophie. QPR need results. They did get a draw against Huddersfield last time out, and it was a last-minute goal which prevented Huddersfield from winning that and ultimately cost Darren Moore his job. We'll come on to that when we get to Huddersfield. QPR, they're in a funny position, Sophie. They don't seem very far away from safety, but they're not shutting the gap much at the moment. They need to win this, I think. A draw will only do so much.
Yeah.
And they take on Blackburn, who did really do well against Wrexham, but they're back to Championship action, and they haven't been as good in the Championship this season. I'll do it, Sophie, just for the sake of drama. I'm going to give it to QPR. Blackburn 1, QPR 2. They might just do it.
Okay, I'm actually going to go the other way. I know they were playing against Wrexham last time, but that should give some of their players some much needed confidence, because as you said, in the league, they've been very, very poor. So they should be looking at this as a must-win as well. Both teams need to, and both teams really need 3 points. More so QPR, but I'm going to give it to Blackburn. 2-1.
Yeah, 2-1
Blackburn.
Blackburn.
To the home side, yeah.
What can Blackburn do this season, by the way? Can they get top half, or is that about it?
I wouldn't write it off, but I mean that's their aim now. It's not a good season. No,
I think the top 6 seems to be gone.
That's gone. Yeah.
Right, Sophie, let's move on to it. Probably the biggest game this weekend: Huddersfield Town versus Sheffield Wednesday. It's the Darren Moore derby, but without Darren Moore. So if this game is huge. Now I know most Huddersfield Town fans wouldn't agree with me saying this, but I just wish Darren Moore had survived one more game just so we could see him in this one, because the storyline would be crazy. He obviously took Sheffield Wednesday up. He was then gone before the season started. He then went into Huddersfield. He'd not been doing a great job there, but he'd just kept their heads above water, and this game has come at a massive time for both clubs. Huddersfield, a new manager bounce or a no manager bounce. They haven't brought someone in at the time we're recording this. And Sheffield Wednesday, they've been all right under Danny Roll, Sophie, and we've seen them quite a bit recently. But they just need to maybe climb one more gear that will just get them out of the bottom three, because it looks like they could just come up short. It could be close. This game is massive. I tell you what, if Darren Moore was still there, I think I'd go all in on a 1-1.
That's a safe bet.
I reckon Huddersfield might win it. The fact that Sheffield Wednesday are playing Wednesday night against Watford, Huddersfield might just have had a bit more of a rest, and maybe just with a slightly different setup for this one with the new manager or interim manager, they might just do it with the home advantage. I'm going to go Huddersfield 2-1.
I think the Huddersfield fans were saying, like, obviously draws aren't enough really, but it was more so the performances they were putting in, they just weren't up to standard. And with Sheffield Wednesday, as you've mentioned, we've seen them a lot too much recently, and they have got moments of quality, haven't they? But it's just, can they do it throughout the 90 against Huddersfield here? I don't know. I'm really tempted to say a draw, but then I like to say about a new manager bounce, so that's going to swing it for me. 1-0 Huddersfield.
Oh, you're coming with me.
I was going to go 1-1, but I changed it last minute.
The thing is, Sophie, it's quite interesting because we've both been backing Sheffield Wednesday quite a bit recently.
Yeah.
Neither of us have backed Huddersfield much recently, and then they sacked the manager and we're all in on Huddersfield. Yeah. I think the home advantage is crucial, though.
Yeah.
I do.
Home advantage, yeah.
Okay, on to the next one, Sophie. Let's go to Hull City. They take on Millwall. Really good opportunity, this one, Sophie, for Hull City to kick on. Their form over the last few weeks hasn't been totally consistent. They will be rested for this now because they've gone out of the FA Cup, and I think that could be a blessing here for Hull City. Millwall, they also went out of the FA Cup in round 3, and they played last week 1-1 against Preston. It kind of sums Millwall up, Sophie. They're just kind of in no man's land in the middle of the table.
They are hard to predict, really.
Yeah, I mean, on their day, they've been capable of picking up some decent results, and they've got a couple of good players. But I just think Hull City, with the home advantage and with a bit of a rest and more to play for, with the fact Hull City are only a couple points away from the playoffs, I'm going to go with a pretty comfy Hull City 2-0.
Yeah, I was tempted to say the same, so I'm going to say 3-1 now. And I'm going to give Millwall a goal, but I feel like Hull really do need 3 points here to kick on, and they're in the playoff race, so they need the 3 points. Millwall aren't really fighting for anything, not been the best this season, but not terrible either. But I don't see them getting anything here, so 3-1.
3-1, interesting. Okay, next up, Sophie, let's go to Carrow Road, where it's Norwich City versus Coventry City. Let's start with Coventry, Sophie, of course, our team. We played in midweek. We drew 2-2 with Bristol City. What it does mean is we're now 10 unbeaten in the league, 12 unbeaten in all competitions. But good runs do come to an end at some point. Obviously, we're hoping that's not the case. But this fixture, Sophie, given the fact Coventry didn't play at their best in the last game, and with Ben Sheaf now being out, this fixture's looking difficult.
Yeah. Even before Ben Sheaf going out, I was not looking forward to this fixture, and now I'm dreading it.
Yes, and the other thing is, on paper, over the last few years, Norwich have been a bogey team to Coventry. Yes. The best we've been able to get off them over the last few seasons is draws. And I think that's where I'm at. I don't want to sound too negative here, Sophie, because I still think Coventry City have been on a very good run. But sometimes you need to just step back and think, a draw here is not a bad result.
No, I'll take that.
I think we might get it. As for Norwich, Sophie, they've been really good recently, and maybe, just maybe, they'll make the top 6 this season. But it's these games that are massive. Norwich are 3 points behind Coventry. They've got to win it. Yeah. I don't think a draw is better for Coventry.
Yeah, definitely. Because it's away as well.
I reckon Norwich will play well and they'll fancy it. I'm going to go 1-1 though.
Oh, See, you said about sounding negative. Wait till you hear my prediction. I'm praying it doesn't come true because I'm going against my own team here. I've got a really bad feeling. I can see Norwich getting the win. I'm going to say 2-1. They are a bit of a bogey team for us. Been on a really good run, and obviously I don't want it to stop. A draw would continue that good run, and I would snatch hand off now for a draw. But I don't see it happening, so I'm going to say 2-1 to the Canaries. I know, pains me.
Sophie. Well, do you know what? I can see why you've done that. Coventry and Norwich fans, do share your thoughts down below. Look, it'd be great if we got something, but it just does look a very difficult game on paper. On to the next one, Sophie. This is an interesting matchup. It's Preston versus Ipswich Town. It is interesting because both sides started better than where they are right now. Preston North End have really sort of not been at the same levels. I mean, their brilliant start seems like a lifetime ago. They got a 1-1 against Millwall last week, which is okay. Just keeps them sort of chugging along. But if they could win a game like this, it'd be a real statement that Preston are going to be here for the playoff race. Can they win it? It's possible. Ipswich Town have certainly not been as flawless recently. What do you think about them going out to Maidstone in the FA Cup as well?
I mean, if you look at the stats and if you watch the game, it was all Ipswich, wasn't it? So it's a smash and grab by Maidstone, but oh, what a result, and for their fans, and we might even be playing them. Yeah,
I agree with that. It's not like I'm overly concerned that Ipswich are going to fall down into the relegation zone or something. They've been so good this season, they can maybe look at it as a positive that they can concentrate on the league now. Yeah. And do you know what? I am actually going to just give Ipswich the 3 points here. I think this could be close, and there won't be a lot to separate the two, but I'm going to go Preston 1, Ipswich 2.
Okay, I'm going to give Ipswich a clean sheet. I'm going to say 2-0 Ipswich. At times, Preston don't look too bad, but I don't think they're going to win this one. I know they're the home side, so they possibly could get a goal at least, but I feel like Ipswich are going to get back to winning ways here, and fairly comfortably. 2-0.
2-0, yeah. Share your thoughts on that game, guys, at Deepdale. Preston versus Ipswich Town. Big game, that one. The team directly involved with them in the promotion race is Southampton, and they are up next as they go to Rotherham. Now, on paper, Sophie, if you look at the table, it looks like a pretty easy Southampton win. But Rotherham are at home, and they have been better recently. They still look quite a considerable way off safety, but they're giving themselves a chance. But they need to start winning. Draws will only do so much. And they take on Southampton here, Sophie, who are on this ridiculous unbeaten run, which has gone on for ages now. Yeah. I did think they were going to lose against Watford, actually, when you looked at the clock. They were losing 1-0 with just, a few minutes to go in that FA Cup game. They snatched a draw, and this incredible unbeaten run in all competitions goes on for Southampton. Honestly, Sophie, it would be very, very like the Championship for Rotherham to win this, and I wouldn't rule it out because they have the home advantage and they have been better recently, but I've got to go with the Saints here.
Yeah.
Two very different styles of play. I think they'll both score, but the Saints will just get 3 points, which is the most important thing. Rotherham 1, Southampton 2.
Okay, now I can see it being quite convincing. I feel like Rotherham are going to be quite defensive throughout most of it, try and just keep any goals out, really. But I feel like when one goes in, it's going to cause a few more to trickle in. So 3-0 to the Saints for me. Quite convincing win.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, it could happen. It really could happen. But I just feel like Rotherham recently have put up more of a fight.
I feel like it would be like a decent performance until like maybe like 60 minutes, and then after that, I feel like the Saints would just start putting them in.
Yeah, that's a good point. On to the next one, Sophie, as we go to Stoke City versus Leicester City. Leicester City have extended their gap at the top again because they beat Swansea City 3-1 in midweek.
Yep.
That's a really good result, you know.
Yeah, that was.
Considering it's been a couple of games since they'd won in the league, so, you know, they needed that. And they come away to Stoke, Sophie, who lost 3-1 to Sunderland at the weekend. I don't know, I mean, once again, it'd be very like the Championship for Stoke to win this, but I just think Leicester City have now got their mojo back and they can't mess about anymore. I'm going to go Leicester 2-0. I think it'd be reasonably comfortable here.
Yeah, Leicester are looking back to their best. I thought it'd be a closer game against Swansea, but no, it's quite a convincing win. What I don't get is why half their fans started leaving when they're 3-0 up. I really don't get that. Even when you're 3-0 down, Anyway, I do think they're going to win this one. Stoke don't look too bad, but they're coming up against Leicester, who are looking in fine form again. So I think it could be a 3-0 one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 3-0, yeah.
Get a bit more convincing than me.
Yeah, a little bit more.
Share your thoughts, guys. Do any of you think Stoke City will get anything against Leicester, or will Leicester City get back-to-back wins? Share your thoughts on that one. Up next, Sophie, down to South Wales, where Swansea City take on Plymouth Argyle. Swansea, as we just mentioned, lost in midweek to Leicester. They lost 3-1. Not a lot of disgrace in that, really, considering Swansea are not on the same levels as Leicester, and they were away from home. They'll have played in midweek, which means Plymouth will be better rested. And Plymouth, Sophie, although they've still not won away from home, you've got to give them credit for going to Leeds and getting a draw in the FA Cup.
Yeah. And then, it's going to a replay, so you never know. They've got better odds at home. Yeah,
I think they're the first team to go to Leeds and not lose since Coventry in
I was about to say we did it.
Early December. Yeah. But it's a hard task, we know that.
Yeah, it is. You've really got to battle for it.
As for this one, I make Swansea slight favourites because of the home advantage, but I'm going to give Plymouth a draw on the road. I just think they're keeping their heads above water this season. I think it'd be great if they could get their first away win here, but I'm going to go for a 1-1.
I'm going to go for a 0-0 stalemate, actually.
Okay.
It sounds so boring, but you know those 0-0s that you're like, oh, God, it's action-packed. I can see that, like the woodwork being hit a few times, maybe even a disallowed goal. But it's just saying 0-0 to me. An evenly matched game.
Yeah.
Which, it wouldn't be a terrible result for Plymouth, but they're so desperate for their first away win. So, it's not the best either.
I think Swansea would be a bit disappointed, though, but
I think so.
They kind of find themselves in the middle of the table. Unless they put a really good run together, they're not really in contention for the playoffs right now. On to the next one. A team that is in contention for the playoffs is Watford, and maybe Cardiff as well. What it does feel like, Sophie, is we've got to this stage of the season where the serious playoff contenders get separated from the not so serious ones. And I don't want to insult Cardiff here, but I just think if they don't get anything here, they're starting to look like a team that's not quite got the minerals to go the distance. They had a good start, and let's be honest, they took a lot of us by surprise, but the form hasn't been as good. I think it's 3 defeats in their last 4 championship games. They take on Watford, who will be playing Wednesday night against Sheffield Wednesday. I think it'd be close, actually, but I will just give it to the home team here, Sophie, just because I think they have got a bit more to go in a playoff race. So I'm going to go for Watford 2-1.
Yeah, I'm also leaning towards the home side, but I'm going to go a little bit more convincing, actually. Watford have looked a little bit better recently, and they're definitely in the playoff race for me. 3-1, Watford. I think it could be quite convincing.
There you go. We're both back in the Hornets to get 3 points in that game. Share your thoughts down below. Next up, Sophie, this should be interesting. Let's go to the Hawthorns for another derby. West Brom versus Birmingham City this time. Now, I'd like to think there won't be any Birmingham City fans in the West Brom end.
Yeah, I was about to say, let's hope there's not so much drama.
Yeah, obviously we mentioned in the Premier League predictions video a couple of days ago the drama that unfolded between Wolves and West Brom. West Brom lost the game, Sophie. I think they can take positives from that game in the FA Cup, because I thought they should have at least got on the score sheet, but the main story from that game is the crowd trouble, of course, and I hope there isn't any here, but it is a derby match, so who knows. As for Birmingham, they were on the road to Leicester in the FA Cup, and they went out as well. They lost 3-0. So both West Brom and Birmingham can come into this knowing that they're going to put all their eggs into the Championship basket for the rest of the season. Birmingham City, I do think they'll stay up this season, and I think Tony Mowbray has the ability to push them towards mid-table. But West Brom, Sophie, they've got to win this. They sit 5th, and without sounding too disrespectful to Birmingham, this is really winnable for West Brom. I do think Birmingham will score, and they have looked a lot better under Tony Mowbray, but West Brom 2-1.
Okay, I backed Birmingham to get something against Leicester. Didn't happen, so I'm tempted to go against them, but I actually think they might get a draw, you know. Okay. Yeah, which wouldn't be a bad result for them. West Brom, I agree, it is a winnable game, and to create a bit of a gap from seventh place, they obviously want the win. But I feel like, Birmingham are just going to make it too hard. So 1-1 for me.
Do you know what? I was so close to predicting 1-1 in that game.
Yeah.
But there you go. Tony Mowbray derby, guys. Share your thoughts on West Brom v Birmingham. The final game is also between two teams that have been managed by Tony Mowbray, and that is Middlesbrough and Sunderland. Sophie, this one's going to be interesting. On the Sunday, they are both right in playoff contention. Both really need a win. Maybe Sunderland would be happier with a draw being on the road. Do you remember when this was at the Stadium of Light, Sophie? Didn't Middlesbrough win 4-0?
Oh, God, I can't remember that.
Yeah, they smashed them away from home. As for this one, Sunderland did get a good win last week, and I'm surprised because, a lot of the fans aren't too positive about things at the moment, especially under Michael Beale. I'm going to go for Middlesbrough to make it 2 wins out of 2 over Sunderland this season. Going to go Middlesbrough 2, Sunderland 1.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm actually going to be boring and say another draw. I feel like Sunderland are going to battle for a point. As you said, they wouldn't be too disheartened with a point on the road. Middlesbrough are obviously going to want to win this one. If I had to pick a winner, it probably would be Middlesbrough. But I can see it being an entertaining Desmond, so I'm going to go 2-2.
2-2. Okay, that does sound a pretty good game, actually. Yeah, share your thoughts, guys. Middlesbrough v Sunderland is a massive game between two playoff chasers, and that does wrap up our championship predictions. Like I say, get your championship predictions down in the comments. Do let us know what you think of the 12 games coming up this week. Make sure you've hit the thumbs up button as we go for 1,200 likes. It's free to like, and it is also free to subscribe. Make sure to get involved if you haven't already by clicking the subscribe button. Thank you for joining me, Sophie.
Thank you.
We will see you in the next one. Peace out.